following podcast is recorded and produced by the Podcast Precinct in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com. The Podcast Precinct. Consistency, creativity, culture.
What is it, Iverson-san?
I'm getting work done to the boys, Taka.
Show rebound stance. Bamboo reed need deep root for strength.
Go. Here it comes.
Where'd he learn that?
NBA 2K on Sega Dreamcast. It's thinking.
Come one, come all, and welcome back to the Retroactive Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lenz, and joining me is my co-host, Johnny Jammin' Jamster Townsend.
That's crowds cheering on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Three-pointer. That was state of the art sound effects back then.
That was I loved the Nintendos when they would do that too. I know we're going to be talking about this because today we were talking about our top 5 favorite video games. That's right. We're not doing 10. We're not eat sleep list.
Yeah, we don't got time for that movie. Literally, we don't want to take that much time. That's that's the literal reason.
But we're not eat sleep list. So if you want to listen to 10, go see Eat Sleep. Go listen to Eat Sleep List. There's my.
It is a great podcast. We do recommend it. Yeah,
that's why I'm plugging it. And
yeah,
I'm nice, but
we're nice, but we're not going to be totally nice. Go listen to Eat Sleep List. Also, go to hell, Eat Sleep List.
Yeah. We're not you.
Yeah.
We only do 5.
That's right. Yeah. We don't need 10.
Because, not to get off too much subject here, but that's
we never do
like,
that.
The MLB network, they have a show called Prime 9 where they only do top 9.
Oh, that's
baseball.
9 innings. Yeah.
9 innings.
I like that.
So they do Prime 9. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I hear it.
I like that. We should just make like a random. Let's do like top 6 at one point. Let's just start doing top 6. Just a random number.
When you said that, it made me think of the part. There's something about Mary. Where he's talking about what is it, the 5-minute abs?
Oh yeah.
And he's like, well, why don't you just knock it down? What are you, crazy, man? You can't get a workout in that time.
I think people forget how that movie is is just as funny even without that one scene everybody knows.
Yeah, I hate the fact that there's so many better ones.
Yeah, which I get. I mean, that's a big over the top joke, but yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in it. But yeah, today we're talking about video games that we love, obviously sports video games.
That's right.
My problem with this list was I just kept thinking of more I wanted to add to it. We've been very fortunate. Yeah, Andrew and I are both gamer. I would say we're gamers, even though that's probably a term people in their 40s shouldn't use anymore. But I consider myself a gamer for sure.
I don't consider myself a very good one, but I consider.
Oh, I never said anything about our skill level. I know. Yeah.
Well,
actually,
I am bringing back the Tecmo Super Bowl season, and I just figured because there's a lot of people who are like, "You suck," and I just want to go like, "I'm just doing this for the fun of it."
Yeah. You're not allowed to have fun on the internet.
I know.
Me and shout out to Derek and Adam and Trevor. On Mondays, we always get together online and play on our Xboxes like the adults we are. And we are except for Derek. Derek is actually quite good, but the rest of us just bring him down so terribly that we're very I keep saying that we need to start streaming because everybody streams who's good at video games, but nobody streams who's bad at video games. So maybe there's like an open market there for us.
There could be.
We can start that. I mean, everybody wants to watch like 40-year-olds struggling at current video games. That's what we are. I've never been so mad at how back in my day, I actually used to be really good at Halo 1 and Halo 2. Oh man, I was like top of the kill feed. And we tried playing the new Halo recently. My God, I suck. I can't even stress to you how difficult a time I have in those games. You know the scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail where there's two guards at the door of the castle, and that guy keeps running towards them. And as he runs, and as he finally gets there, he kills one of them and keeps going, and the other one turns around and goes, "Hey," like he just missed it.
Yeah.
That's me now trying to play a video. Like all these kids have, like, it's got to be how quick their attention spans are so much quicker than I could ever hope to be. And I'm just going, "Hey," say goodbye.
It's that too. I watched some like documentary like years and years ago. It had to be like 20 years ago. Because I was living at my mom's house. And they said like your video game prime is only from like 16 to 24.
I don't know about that. I'd probably say I was still good. I would consider myself good at a few games, probably up until 30, I would say. And then after that, I started to notice a slippage.
I noticed I was getting more annoyed with games, and it just went automatically to easy.
Yeah,
because I just wanted to play it, get it done, call it a day.
I'm a big NBA 2K guy. I still play those games despite what they're trying to do to make me hate them more and more. But like you have the option when you play the My Team version of it to play against real people or play against the computer. I detest playing against real people because they will talk the trash to you, and if you're bad, like I don't want to say anything, but I'm not the greatest. A lot of the trash they're talking, you can't refute it. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, we were going back to Halo. We were playing one night, and this guy was destroying me. Like he had my number for sure. And after the game, he actually sent me a message just telling me how bad I am. And I responded, and I was like, "Yeah, I know. I tried my best," basically, to the point where that dude's my friend on Xbox now. He felt so bad for me. He pitied me.
I'm realizing this for the NES World Championships that came out.
Yeah. You make me so jealous. So I need to get down and get that game, I think.
It's perfect for a short attention span. So
yeah.
The kid that lives down from the hall for me, aka my son, he has ADHD, but yet because it's all miniature speed runs, he whips through it, and he's killing all of my times.
Yeah.
Where like I was like, haha, look at this, and now he's like, oh, look at this. So now I come up with the strategy, and then he just executes it and destroys it. There was one where he was like top, I want to say almost 15%.
Wow.
And this is in the world because every Monday they do
challenges or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they release the challenges for that week. And it was something in Zelda. He had to kill somebody. And it was like he did it. He was like top 20, top 15 around in there.
Yeah.
He got a nice little gold medal it was for his age group, I believe, but the age group is actually for my other son that used to own the Switch that I bought.
Oh yeah, I got you guys. And he's older, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Only by like I don't know. He's older.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't need to give ages.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't need to say when their birthdays are, just in case we don't know that information.
Yeah.
But we're talking about our favorite sports games, especially from growing up. I was the systems I had, Andrew. I went from the NES. No, let me start all over. When I was very little, our cousins, when they got their Nintendo, they gave us their Atari. So
you are at the generation where I feel if you didn't start off with the Atari, then your parents had way more money, or you were
Yeah.
an only child.
And it was handed down,
Yes,
of course.
I had an Atari that was handed down from my aunt's boyfriend at the time because he got a Nintendo.
Yep. So you know this. And they had a ton of games because that's the big video game crash happened because everybody was putting out a game for the Atari. And the sports games on the Atari are not the best, of course. Very limited system, but I still would argue that Pitfall freaking rules.
I'm a huge Missile Command fan.
Yes, Missile Command's very good too. Yeah. So that system still had some bangers on it, despite its limitations.
My brother and I also like, what was it, Shootout? Where it was
I don't
like
know
a cowboy shooting game. You
Oh
had
yeah,
two players,
yeah,
and you were on like each side.
Yeah.
And then you would either shoot through a barrier, and then you could like ricochet. Well, they were bullets, but not really. They were squares.
the little squares. Yeah. But my main systems were the NES that I got for Christmas, and then one Christmas I was very lucky, and my parents worked very hard to get me a Sega Genesis, and that was literally when my eyes super duper opened up to sports games. Was the Sega Genesis.
That Matt and I were actually talking about this. I think it was you. I don't know. I can't remember things. Also, maybe I brought this up to you. I feel the best generation, even though I really don't have too many because I went with more. It's almost like my first kind of nostalgia things, but I feel like the Sega Genesis and the PS2, the sports games on there were just amazing. And I didn't feel like it was to the point where it's dumbed down now in a way, or it's just reproduced over and over the same game. Just, hey, let's change up the menu screen. Let's change this up. But like that PS2 Sega Genesis era was awesome.
Yeah, I would agree there. I think anytime there was a jump in what a video game system could do, like when we went from a Sega Genesis to the first PlayStation, which is what I did.
Mm-hmm.
No, I went to a 64 first, but even that jump, like I was always anxious to see what the new sports games on the new system would look like, and I'd be blown away by playing I went from and absolutely loved, the basketball games on the Genesis to being blown away by those Kobe Bryant basketball games on the Nintendo 64.
I did never touch those. I'm such a purist when it comes to certain things.
Yeah.
I think it was also because my brother, who is older than me, so like when he was like 15, 16, he got a job. So he was buying the majority of the games.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a say in, hey, you should do this. The only time, and plus two, in his defense, he should never listen to me again because he asked me when the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn came out, he was like, which one do you think we should get for, because we used to do a lot of like seasons and everything.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you think we should get for Madden and hockey and stuff like that? And I was like, oh, get the Sega Saturn. Don't get the PlayStation.
Yeah, that PlayStation's never going to make it.
Yeah, I was like, just get the Sega Saturn. It's Sega. It's kind of like now, like growing up, like my grandmother worked for Chevy, and it was like, oh, always make sure you get a Chevy. Just get a Chevy. And now I drive a Honda Odyssey, and I'm like, those aren't that
bad. My dad always was a Ford man, right? A big Ford guy. And then wasn't my first car, but the first car that I actually was helping pay for was a Honda Civic. And I loved that car. And my dad would drive it sometimes and he ended up really loving that car to the point where we have a Honda there's a Honda out in the driveway of their house now.
Because I saw somewhere that Japanese cars make it so it's like the maintenance on it, like if you don't get a maintenance in time, it's still kind of okay.
They feel like they last better. And what's odd to me is that they're, for the most part, more comfortable for me as a big guy to get in and out of as a Honda
Yeah.
vehicle. Yeah.
So, are we ready to go with our top 5 favorite video games of all time? You want me to start with Matt's?
Yeah, let's do Matt's first. We will. I will also have some honorable mentions. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Yeah, I don't. Matt doesn't got any here, so we'll just rotate, and I'll start with Matt first. His number 5 is Nagano Winter Olympics '98. Matt's going to Olympics.
Wow,
I've
never played that.
no.
I have, and it's the Nintendo's fault that I've never played Olympic games because those Olympic games on the Nintendo were murder on your hands.
Track and field.
Yes, where you have to like hit the buttons so fast and simultaneously. I never was good at those. I hated them with a passion. I don't want my video game to feel like work.
Yeah, I never. Yeah, I'm trying to like
What system was that for?
PlayStation.
Matt's younger than us.
Matt's yeah. Matt's a big PlayStation guy.
Yeah,
That's his.
Matt's a few years behind us in age.
So here are your events in this game. Alpine skiing,
Also, this is winter games.
snowboard, speed skating, short track. I don't know what that is.
It's like a track, but it's not as long.
Oh, it was also on the Nintendo 64, but I have a feeling Matt's such a PlayStation guy.
Oh, he definitely PlayStation. I would put money on it.
Bobsled, luge. So you had ski jumping, free skating, and curling.
Now, Andrew, let me ask you this:
Yeah.
when I had my Genesis, the great thing about the Genesis having all these sports games coming out all the time was that they would frequently be put on like clearance bins
Oh, yeah.
all the time, and that clearance bin was your boy's pal because my
KB.
parents, yes, yep, because my parents were not going to pay $60 for a video game, but you know what, $10 to $20, that sounds more doable.
What was the KB had like what 3 for $20 at one point or something?
Yes. Oh man, that's bringing back some memories. Yes.
Do you know what I bought? Okay. And I kick myself for not keeping these games. I wish I would have known. So, like Christmas, you get like your $20.
Yeah.
Rolling up the KB. I had a Super Nintendo in my room because obviously my brother had the Sega Saturn, and then we had a Nintendo 64 in the living room. And so I had the Super Nintendo in my room, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy some games. So I bought The Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Oh, that's a good game.
Mega Man X.
Oh yeah.
Pro Super Bowl 3, the final edition, all for
Yep.
$20. And Batman and Robin goes for like $250 now.
Yeah. Talk to Trevor about that pain. Trevor's got some great stories of one time when Mario 3 had come out and we had been playing what was that game? It was like a racing game. RC Pro Am
Yes.
2. It's one of them that's worth like ridiculous money now, and he traded it for Mario 3, which is like the most common Nintendo game now. He still talks about that.
Mario
That
3
was-
is so good though.
Mario 3 is literally my favorite video game, so I'm not mad at it, but you know, in the big picture of things, it was not the smartest deal he's ever made.
So my number 5, I kind of went with a series, and it's probably a reason why I didn't get the greatest grades my senior year. And it's gonna sound funny when I say the name is Backyard Sports. I just went with the whole series.
I remember those. Yeah.
These were some of the funnest games I've ever played. So I
It's
played
like little kids playing, right? Is that what it is?
yeah,
yeah.
but they would do. So I only did football and baseball.
Yeah.
But what they would do is like Steve Young would be in there, and like Ken
Yeah.
Griffey Jr. would be in there.
Yeah,
and
they would have pro athletes in it, but they were kid versions of those pro athletes.
yeah, and you would just play in like certain places, and like if for baseball, I remember the way your pitcher would get tired is like the juice would just run out. There'd be like this juice.
OJ?
No, not OJ. No White Broncos here.
He was always running out.
But I just remember playing these a lot, especially in school because our senior year they gave us laptops and
Yeah.
kind of their fault, kind of their fault. So I found these after they were like, "Hey, no more Nintendo emulators." And I was like, these are some of the greatest games ever. So this and Diablo, the Backyard Sports and Diablo are probably one of the reasons why I didn't get the greatest of grades my senior year because you got to complete your seasons.
Oh yeah, yeah. I get it.
And
Yeah.
Pablo Sanchez, one of the greatest video game athletes of all time.
Yeah. I think I'm for my number 5. I'm going to go with a series as well. Andrew, I want to ask you who's the in your opinion the greatest golfer of all time?
Tiger Woods.
I mean, sure, but I'd probably go with Luigi because I'm talking about Mario Golf here.
Is
From
that
the NES on, Mario Golf was a game that me and Trevor and Derek would play the heck out of, and even up to the one that came out a couple years ago, it's still very very fun. It's basically golf, but with none of the hardcoreness to it, and yet it's still deep enough where like you can hit some ridiculous shots with some skill involved. I will always love the Mario Golf games, especially if you have made me pick a favorite, probably the Nintendo 64 one because it also added mini golf, and I'm a big putt man.
I've played that. I've played that a couple of times with my kids. Uh Big fan. I'll leave it for my honorable mentions. I'll do 2 now. For honorable mentions.
Also, I will have 2 or 3 honorable mentions.
Yeah, I'll leave it to talk about my. All right. So we are on to back to Matthew. Matthew has 2MD VR Pro Football Unleashed. And if this is what I'm thinking is for the Oculus.
Oh, it's a VR game.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun football game. I thought it was a little bit better than what the Pro Era game. EA came out with a Pro Era game, but you could tell they kind of rushed it because it was broken. And Matt pointing out some things on the Pro Era one where didn't really look too great. Like there's some misspellings and everything else, but Matt's a grammar Nazi where I'm like, how do you spell up? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a pretty fun game. Like you could create your own plays and everything else. You're basically playing against robots if it's what I think it is.
Yeah, but still.
Okay. So my number 4, I kind of went with just all 4 major sports here. So it's ascending up from there. Is NHL 94. I do really love NHL PA 93 because the little trick where if you're at if the opponent's goalie is at the far end and you go around tight to the goal, you can get that goalie stuck and score a goal every time. But NHL 94 brought in an awesome feature where you could change your lines.
Oh,
So if you were playing some team that you didn't really know everybody on and you were like, hey, I want this guy in every single line, which really didn't make sense. But as a kid, because you didn't want that line constantly tired, but as a kid, sorry, Jeremy Roenick, if I'm the Blackhawks, you're playing on all 3 lines and you better enjoy it. And that was like one of the first really good NHL games that I ever played where I was like, this is what I've been looking for as somebody that likes to mess around with rosters and everything else.
yeah. For my number 4, I also try to kind of spread the love around to the sports. I didn't want to just do all basketball. So, but my number 4 is going to be. It's a series, but I can't narrow it down. But it's the NASCAR games that EA put out for the PlayStation to the PlayStation 2 era. I'd probably point out NASCAR 97 just because that's the one I think that we played the most. That was probably during the height of my NASCAR fandom. It is the height of my NASCAR fandoms in those 90s when NASCAR was awesome.
When it was really good.
When it was very, very good. We had all the great drivers, I was blown away that I could drive around in Martin's Valvoline Ford, That was like the greatest memory for me is driving around there. Why that When that one song, that song always played during I'm driving down the road and I'm flirting with disaster. Like they would always play that at the main menu of the one NASCAR game that we played the most.
I love it how EA always has some pretty decent music.
Yeah, they really did. So I'm going to go with the EA NASCAR series here.
Wasn't there an NBA Live that it also came with an audio disc? I think it was the one with. Why am I thinking it's the one with the Jason Kidd? Or maybe this is some weird Mandela effect.
I'm trying to remember because there was a time where a lot of the games would come with especially if you like pre-order it or something, you get a bonus audio, like a soundtrack from the game. I have the first BioShock soundtrack from doing that. Awesome soundtrack, by the way.
I'm 100% sure. So Matt's number 3 is WW. It would have been WWE at the time. WWE SmackDown. Here comes the pain.
Now, I will say, out of when we get into the PlayStation, the PS2 era, that is probably the best of the wrestling games. Is that one, in my opinion? It's very, very good.
I'm a big Nintendo 64 guy when it comes.
Well, I didn't want to bring that up yet because it may show up later.
Yeah,
but that's why I said in the PS2, the PS1, the PS2 era, like in those lineage of when they were putting out wrestling games, that was probably the best one. Is the Here Comes the Pain.
My number 3. This one was very hard because when I was thinking about a baseball game, because there is another honorable mention I'd like to put out there. But this one made me fall in love with baseball games, and that's RBI Baseball 3.
Mm-hmm.
They did do teams where it wasn't for that year. I don't even know what year that RBI Baseball 3 was. But you could go back to like the 89 A's and stuff like that. It was kind of like what NBA Live would do, where you could play as a certain team, a certain year of that team, but also the fact that I could switch up my pitching was pretty cool. Like I could switch out my pitcher and I could put in whoever I wanted.
And put in the belly itcher.
Yeah. It was just, I don't know. It's just a very fun game that I loved playing growing up, and I still play it today.
Yeah.
It was one of the games that I sought out when I was starting my little Nintendo collection there.
That's a great pick. My number 3, I'm going to go with NFL Blitz for my number 3. You know, I'm not the biggest hardcore football fan, but your boy loved playing NFL Blitz because that's just a goofy, over the top football game, very arcadey.
Yeah.
Where like it's where we had a blast after the play trying to get a last hit in before the camera would cut away. We're always trying to do that. Just so much fun, over the top goofiness in NFL Blitz. That's gonna be my number 3. A lot of really fun memories of that game, and I really wish they'd bring it back.
Yeah, I think that was the first football game I had for my Nintendo 64. Like when I actually got one myself was NFL Blitz. Johnny, you would love it here in a place. Shout out to Tornado Terry's in Keller, Texas. They have a cabinet. All right, listen to this. You're gonna love this. They have an NFL Blitz cabinet.
Ooh.
But it's also an NBA shootout cabinet.
Oh, yeah.
Go back and forth, Johnny, between NFL Blitz and NBA shootout.
NBA shootout, for those who don't know, is like the follow up to NBA Jam. Yeah.
So you could go back and forth all at one cabinet.
Wow. Yeah, that's where I'd be spending most of my time, guaranteed.
And if you get bored, you could go over to the Star Wars pod racing cabinet.
What about they gotta have Cruising USA?
The newer version.
Oh, that's the same thing. They're all the same.
The newer version. They do have a Ninja Turtle cabinet, but it's
which one is it?
2012 one.
Oh yeah. I didn't play that one near as much. Yeah.
It's the 2012 one. Electric Starship. That's in Holton City, Texas. They have Turtles in Time
Now we're talking.
and the big 6-man X-Men captain.
Oh, now we're talking. Now we're talking.
They're a little bit. Tornado Terry's is $15 free play, and Electric Starship is $12 free play.
Oh man, yeah.
So
Mm.
shout out to those places. Not a sponsor, but shout out to those places.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2 here. Matt has Tecmo Super Bowl. Not going to get too much into there because it's going to probably show up on somebody else's list.
Mine probably, yeah.
Definitely Johnny's. Which I'm shocking Matt has this on here because I called him out the other day about not knowing the difference between Tecmo Super Bowl and Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah.
Know the difference. There is a huge difference.
Yeah, everybody knows that difference, man.
Oh, man.
Everybody.
Ah.
I don't know that difference. You had to tell me.
I will. Oh,
But I think you forgive me because you know I grew up basketball guy, not football guy. Yeah.
were you an Arch Rivals fan?
I definitely played it. I'm trying to remember what the basketball game I played the most on the Nintendo was. It wasn't that one.
Was it Double Dribble?
It was Double Dribble. Yep.
I figured.
Yeah. Everybody had Double Dribble.
Well,
Everybody had Double Dribble, and for some reason Bayou Billy. Those are the 2 games I feel like I saw in everybody's library. I don't know why, because Bayou Billy is an awful game.
I
It
did
is not
not
good.
have. I did not. I wanted. You know what? I'm gonna mark that down because it was a nostalgia funhouse plug for our other podcast idea that you just gave me.
Oh, you're welcome.
My number 2, going to basketball. I love, like I said, moving around rosters, doing all this stuff. But when it came to this game, it kind of blew my mind. Was NBA Jam. The 2-on-2. If you played it in the arcade, you had Shaq when Shaq was coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't want to play as Shaq and Scott Skiles? But just the 2-on-2 where you could go Sean Kemp and Gary Payton and Karl Malone, John Stockton.
Yeah.
Horace
Peyton and Camp was one of my main duos on that game.
I'm a Hornets guy.
I was always a Hornets guy. Hornets first.
Yeah.
But when I wanted to change it up, it'd be Kemp and Peyton.
Yeah, I was always a big who else was pretty underrated that I was like looking through and I was like, why did I not play this as a kid? Because I was big Hornets or Bulls.
Yeah.
Those were my 2. I want to say the Rockets. Because I'm a Celtics fan, but Dino Raja and B Brown just wasn't exciting.
Yeah, 90s, like mid 90s Celtics weren't necessarily the best Celtics. Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. All right. My number 2, I'm going to go to the basketball game as well.
I thought it was going to be the Tecmo Super Bowl.
I know. I'm a big fat liar.
Madden 04.
John Elway. No, just kidding.
Oh, I would end this right now.
No, I'm going to go with NBA Showdown 94 for the Sega Genesis. For the main fact that that's the first basketball game that I remember really blowing me away because it had every team. And it had all the players that, like, you know, this is the 90s. I'd really gotten into NBA basketball by here. And the fact that I could go around and actually play as the Hornets was a big deal. And I really put in some hours in this game to the point where Mom loves to tell the story of one time she heard some talking in my room and she didn't know what was happening because I was by myself, and she went in there and she snuck in and she heard me. And I remember I would do this. I would do my own commentary
Yes.
on my basketball games as I was playing them, especially this one.
Don't worry. I used to put on I don't know why we had it. My stepdad got it for hunting, but nobody ever used it. It was like walkie-talkie headsets.
Yeah.
So I used to put that on and pretend like I was actually calling plays.
Oh, I love this. Yeah.
in football games and stuff.
Yeah.
I also was once told when I was playing video games when I got older and I was playing like Madden and like NBA Live and all that stuff. My mom would go, "I'm closing your door. I'm calling Reverend Hazel, and you would appreciate what's coming out of your mouth right now." And
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
This is also one of the first games that I remember actually being able to play in an actual season. And it would actually kind of keep up with your stats a little bit through the season
Mhm.
of you playing. And I remember like I would make sure that Larry Johnson was having that double. He's getting those 20 points and 10 rebounds every game for me.
I love that because when I was like playing one of the NBA lives on the Retro Pie, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be big country. And I was like, I'm gonna try and score.
Rod
every
Reeves, yeah.
Oh, I love me some big country.
Side note, there's a great documentary about him on YouTube. I would recommend people checking out.
She actually did a great 30 for 30 about the Vancouver riots after they lost the Stanley Cup. That I don't
Oh, wow.
I can't think of what her name is, but she's very Vancouver centric. And
Yes.
but she's so good at each one of her documentaries. Like who kind of like she did like what they did for WCW, like Who Killed WCW was like kind of
With
like
the Grizzlies.
yeah, with the Grizzlies.
I saw that one too. That one's very good.
It
Yeah.
was great too, the way that she tracks down these people.
Yeah, and you can tell she actually really loves the sports up there, which is very important to me when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because if you're not passionate about it, there's no point.
Yeah.
All
All right, number one's now. What's Matt's number one?
NFL 2K5. So Matt talked about this game constantly to me. And
Yeah.
I'm a Madden purist. After the Tecmo Super Bowl series kind of faded out, and I needed more real game simulation. So it just became a Madden purist. And then the 2K series came, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm a Madden guy. So Matt talked
Yeah.
Matt talked about NFL 2K5 for years.
Yes.
So I finally broke down and I found it at like some thrift store and I bought it for like $8 because I was like, what's $8 if it's bad, whatever.
Yeah.
This game, there are a lot of games that I kick myself now for not playing when I was younger because I just had this mindset. Like I just messaged you about Yoshi's Island.
Yeah.
Another game.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not playing this bullshit. But now as I'm older, I'm like, I wasted time not playing this game. And NFL 2K5, I wish I would have paid the $20 to get this game.
That's what I was about to ask. Was this the one that was $20?
Yes. And
Yeah.
to pay the $20 to get this game over the $50-$60 I paid to get Madden that year. And
Yeah.
I was
I'm going to agree with you here. This game came out and it was a huge deal that this was a brand new game that they did not skimp on, by the way. They put a lot of effort into this that was only $20. And this is the only football game that I ever bought brand new when it came out was this game. And I'm not a heavy sim football guy, but I really played the crap out of that football game. It was really good.
It's so good. It is so good.
You'll never guess which team I played as.
Oh, the Denver Broncos.
Oh man, you're good. Good
Yeah.
choice. Yeah, it wasn't the Panthers at all.
No. How many yards did Jake? Jake? Yeah, Jake Delhomme's in this game.
He destroyed everybody.
Destroyed Dan Marino's records. I used to do that because they would keep records, like
Yeah.
full season stats, even at the end in a record book in final edition for Tecmo Super Bowl. So I would take Dan Marino and make sure that I destroyed at the time Marino owned most of them, but I would just destroy. Like Steve Young had quarterback rating. I was like, this is gonna get destroyed and everything.
Yes. Yeah, I would do that. I'm going to propose this for me and you since we have honorable mentions. I say we do our honorable mentions now and then do our number one last.
Okay, that's not a problem. So I have 4
Go for it.
honorable mentions. One is Hardball 3. Had a lot of fun. This was it was originally released on the computer, I want to say.
Yeah.
and it was released on Sega Genesis.
Baseball game, I'm assuming.
Baseball game.
Yeah.
Baseball sim game. My brother and I played this a lot because what we could do is it wasn't like registered, so there was no actual players in there, but you could change each player's name. So
Yeah.
it was easier for us when we did our seasons, and then we didn't have to buy a new game constantly. So we played a lot of Hardball 3. So then that way we could just add people, edit
Yeah.
people. It was kind of like one of the first games where you could do that.
Yeah.
So we played that a lot. My wrestling game, WrestleMania 2000. I like No Mercy, but I always liked WrestleMania 2000. And then the other one obviously is what is that? WCW Revenge.
Yeah.
Those are like my two favorite wrestling games. Then what I almost got a divorce over a couple of times. Mario Super Sluggers for the Wii.
Yes. Yes.
Woo. My wife and I have had some heated battles in Mario Super Sluggers. And then to end it all for honorable mentions, the greatest racing game of all time. That's right, Johnny. I'm saying it. Kyle Petty's No Fear. I can literally play that game for hours.
I have a confession. While I can't agree that game is good, you're also talking to the guy who would constantly go and rent Bill Elliott's NASCAR racing for the Nintendo, and that is not a good game, but I played the heck out of it because I didn't have a lot of choices for NASCAR then.
Yeah. Oh, Kyle Petty's No Fear Racing. Oof. If we did NASCAR games, that's the top of my list.
All right, my honorable mentions. I want to start out with Barclays Shut Up and Jam. Both of those games, I love those games. Had them on my Genesis. Played the heck out of them. I'm going to go obviously NBA Jam, but I'm going to throw in Tournament Edition here because that's the one I played the most. Was the one with the big old TE on the cover of my Genesis game, and my last one's going to be the NBA 2K, the first one for the Dreamcast. It was the first game I got I got Sonic and NBA 2K for my Dreamcast, and Allen Iverson was on the cover. And I remember being really blown away by how, at that time, if you look at it now, you wouldn't know what I was smoking. But at that time, it was like revolutionary how great those players looked playing basketball, and how close for me it resembled like playing a real game.
I've never played a real game on that, but we did a lot of is that the one where you could also do like one-on-ones and stuff, and you could go like it's like almost street ball. I don't know.
They get there eventually, but I don't think the first few in the Dreamcast did that. They were mainly just like simulation NBA games.
I remember playing that on one of the NBA 2K where it was like, we never played an actual game. I still don't know this. Like, my friend Carl had it, and we never played it like an actual game. Like, even when we did baseball, we never played an actual game. We just played home run derby. I think because most of the time we were just kind of like sitting around, like talking. So like, if you get too intense in a game, you're not really like talking to a whole bunch of people.
Yeah. There's a difference there. Yeah.
All right.
I already know what your number one is.
Yeah. Damn Tecmo Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This game blew my mind as a kid. As somebody that loves sports history, as you could tell, and looking at rosters and stuff like that, this was the first one where your offense got injured, but you could see everybody on the roster. You could see their attributes of what made them great. You could change your playbook. I mean, you had to play the same season constantly, but it kept all your stats. It just was absolutely amazing. And that's kind of the difference between Tecmo Super Bowl and Tecmo Bowl. Tecmo Bowl is not really a season. Like, you got to put in like a code each and every time. This one saved your season. Plus two, Tecmo Bowl only has the names of the players, but not the logos. And it's only teams that I think made the 1987 playoffs.
Which one's the one where Bo Jackson's the glitch?
That's actually both of them.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's both.
I
Of them.
definitely remember that joke in Family Guy.
Yeah. No.
We're so go Bo Jackson.
Yeah. But Tugmo Super Bowl, Bojack. I mean, there's so many like glitch, like just players that are amazing. Wayne Haddix. My brother once had, I think, over 100 sacks in a season with Bruce Smith because there's a way that if you hold the D pad diagonally and hit B right when the quarterback hikes the ball, your defensive end will slide and hit the quarterback right away.
Yeah.
It's gotten to the point where I've played this so much, I can read plays. So I can set myself up.
Yeah.
So like say I pick a pass and I'm like, okay, now I see this formation. If it's not the pass, it's most likely the run formation. So I know who to choose to help try and like stuff the run. I mean, it just the touchdown and hut, the sound effects, the way that the cut, just the cuts, the receiver going up to the air to catch the ball and then he comes down. It's the greatest football game ever. I don't care what any of this newer generation says. You can have your Maddens.
Yeah.
I own 2 copies of this, Johnny. I own 2 copies of Tecmo Super Bowl because my wife got me a gift card to shout out once. I'm shouting out tons of local businesses in the Dallas Fort Worth area here. Shout out to the Gaming Vault. I love that place. That is and also I believe Keller, Texas as well. Go there for all your gaming needs, not just video games, but what is that? Magic and everything else. So go check out the Gaming Vault if you're in the DFW area. Owner's super nice. And so I saw how cheap it was and I know how much it goes for. And most people would be like, oh, are you going to resell it? Never. It's gonna.
Yeah, that's not what it's for. It's not for
No.
making money.
No, it's
Yeah.
just for me to have it. And then I felt bad because nobody else has it. Because they need to enjoy Tecmo Super Bowl. It hurts me when people get these things graded.
No, I can't stand that. Yeah.
I love Tecmo Super Bowl so much, and I want to get the manual, but I don't want to order off of eBay, that I'm on a waiting list at the Gaming Vault in case somebody tries to turn in a manual to the game. Okay, that's how much I love this game.
Yeah.
And like I said, I did play it. I'm bringing it back. I don't care what people say, whatever. I just notice everybody hates everything online. So,
Oh yeah, that's called the internet in general.
yeah. So I'm bringing it back. I'm going to start finishing out my season with the Cardinals and play more seasons as well because it's just the joy of playing it and seeing what this game is. And also, I don't know if you saw it. I need to clear this up. The Netflix series.
Yeah.
The video game Netflix series that they have.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
That guy's a damn liar about being Madden being the first video game where there was white players and black players because it was damn Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Super Bowl that had black and white players. Not Madden. Before Madden, they were doing it. Bo Jackson wasn't running around as a white guy. He was a black guy. Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's just its own culture, community. Like to this day, there's certain times where I don't call Randall Cunningham because he's technically not in the game. He's QB Eagles. So
Like they do with Michael Jordan in the 90 games.
So
there's
like
a 23 Bulls player. Yeah.
So like Jim Kelly, Bernie Kosar, and Randall Cunningham in the game. So Randall Cunningham's QB Eagles, Bernie Kosar's QB Browns, and Jim Kelly's QB Bills. So
Yeah.
like that is a nickname. So if you're with somebody and you're like, oh, that's Jim Kelly, you'd be like, oh, good old QB Bills himself.
Yeah.
If you know it. I like to watch. I watched a whole special where they talk about this giant tournament they have in Wisconsin every year. I would love to go there. I know I'd get my ass kicked, but just to play it is the most amazing feeling all the time. Plus,
I also love how me and you, whenever anybody puts up or says a stat that's just so easily, you can easily research that stat. It just drives me bonkers when they get it wrong like that. And like when you shared with me what Fox Sports did recently, like that just drove. I was I had to stop myself from writing many a Facebook post just about being mad about how easily you can just research their topic there. They just so you know, they'd put out this thing of like NBA players with the most rings who were drafted, who stayed on the team they were drafted by.
Yeah.
And they had Kobe Bryant on there, who was obviously drafted by Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just such a like everybody knows that.
And Dirk,
Not just me, a Hornets fan. And Dirk was not drafted by Dallas.
no. But-
Drove me insane.
Yeah, I love Tecmo Super Bowl. So many hours. I think it was the first sports game. I used to be such a beat 'em up, like adventure game. Like I wanted the Zeldas, I wanted the Double Dragons.
Yeah.
And I liked RBI baseball and all that stuff. But then all of a sudden, my dad was like, "Here's Tecmo Bowl. We play Tecmo Bowl." My brother probably played it more than me. And then all of a sudden, Tecmo Super Bowl came. And it just became so much more in depth, like a role playing game in a way.
Yeah.
It just became so much more in depth. And in a way, a lot of these sports simulation games, I feel now that I'm thinking about it, is a role playing game. You're role playing as a GM, a head coach, or even if you throw yourself or create a player in that game. And this was the first one where I really felt I was 100% in control of like my team. Like,
yeah,
make decisions.
I definitely remember when in NBA Live you could actually create your own player on there, and of course I created a Johnny Townsend, and of course I put him on the Hornets,
Of course,
and of course we won a championship.
I used to make my guy like 7'6" because I wanted to be tall.
I think it's because it's how I played when I would play. I always made myself a power forward, and I would either like get a lot of rebounds and I could shoot. And I could pass, which is kind of my skill set. Obviously not on a pro level, but when I played basketball, that's what I was known for.
It's the
So-
now when I create a player and they're like, put in your age, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put in a fake age.
Yes, I ain't put my age to anything now because I got to scroll so far down now to get to my age. Yeah,
I'm like, what's the lowest age possible?
yeah, I know that pain. I'll do well.
Okay,
All right,
now that we're on my rant of Tecmo Super Bowl, which I could,
No, I get it.
I could do a whole damn episode just ranting about how great Tecmo.
Which I could also do for my number one. This game is the legit reason why I even bought. I got a job, my first job at a grocery store at Winn-Dixie, which is a grocery store chain down here, or used to be. I think they're all gone now.
Isn't Publix bought them all or something like that? I thought.
Food Lion bought them
Oh.
here.
You ate
But
'em up.
yeah, but I worked there for the sole purpose of being able to afford a Nintendo 64, just so I could also afford WCW NWO Revenge. I would go on to get every one of those wrestling games. I had WrestleMania, I had No Mercy, and those are obviously the superior when it just comes to just overall wrestling games. But my love for WCW NWO Revenge has no end. It's the first wrestling game that really blew me away. I remember going over to my buddy Philip's house because he had it, and we would play the heck out of that game. I remember thinking, oh my, like you could actually, I remember getting Goldberg and actually doing the spear. Then, oh my God, I could do the jackhammer too, and being so blown away by that and how cool and how it looked just like him doing a jackhammer. I remember like how cool it was for Kevin Nash to do his power bomb because it was like he had like a snap to it, like he really did. He would there's just a certain snap to the Kevin Nash power bomb, and I just remember like how this is a weird word to use in pro wrestling, but it was almost sim like in how it would like how every wrestler felt like their actual counterpart, right? Like Scott Hall felt like Scott Hall. And I would always be blown away by how bad Ric Flair's main finisher, his finisher was a figure four, but if you hit the stick,
Yeah.
his thing was like he would poke you in the eye and back up and hit you in the balls, those type of things.
You know what I loved about that too, where you were talking about it? Sorry to cut you off, but
Go ahead.
Alparca had started with a chair.
Started with a chair. Yep. Came to the ring with it.
These things started with a bat.
Yeah.
And if you know WCW back then, Alparca always had a chair and he did his dance.
Yep. I could do the shooting star press with Billy Kidman. You know how freaking cool that was for Johnny in the 90s? That blew my mind.
I have a YouTube video of me winning the championship with Scott Hall.
That's what I'm talking about. This is before Scott Hall did math. For he did that math equation to get Samoa Joe. This is before that.
Oh, that's Scott Steiner that did that.
Oh, yeah, you said Scott Hall. I
Yeah.
get my Scots confused.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's confused.
two very different Scots.
Big-
I still to this day am a giant wrestling nerd, especially for this era. And I grew up watching WCW. I would eventually get into WWF stuff, but I'm from the South, so WCW was huge here, and especially since I'm from North Carolina, where WCW is very, very huge. So I was very blown away by how great this game was, because up until then, while the wrestling games were fun, this was a whole nother level.
Yeah. I think the only thing that it is missing that I would have liked to seen that I'm just gonna say WWF games for that time had,
Because that's what they are. That's what they were. Yeah.
is the music. It was always a generic music for
What are you talking about? Dog, diggity dog.
No, that was the
That was on Revenge, and I love that the opening was like for some reason, a semi truck driving towards Sting. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, but it was always like that, like generic THQ, like
yeah. The other thing it's missing is the creator wrestler, because
Yeah,
I have very strong memories of when WrestleMania came out and you could create a wrestler, and you had so many roster spots for these creator wrestlers. And this is also when internet was first becoming a thing in homes. And I was lucky enough to have internet, and I would just scour and try to find, because people would put up these templates that you could use for your creator wrestlers to create wrestlers from WCW to put into your WWF game. So, of course, I had Goldberg and Sting and Kidman and all those in my WWF game, because I was very cool like that.
what was it was that. I wanted to think of what else they were kind of. Oh, my brother and I. So for No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000, he wasn't a big WCW guy. I was always more WCW, even though I liked them both. I was more WWF than WCW, but we would do, like I talked about how we had seasons in baseball and basketball. Once WrestleMania came out and you could create your own pay-per-view,
Yes.
we would
Yeah.
write out our own card, and I had the New Age Outlaws as the tag team champs in WrestleMania 2000 for almost like, I forgot how many defenses. I think almost like 500 defenses or something like that. 500, because they would list like how long they had it.
Yeah.
And I would just kill with the New Age Outlaws. But
Yeah, I was a Hardy Boys.
yeah, we would do our little fantasy booking thing. And I would have certain people join like DX and everything else. And he would have his kind of like a Raw SmackDown draft where it was like, which players do you control? I control these players. And then we would write out our card.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some great
Those
memories.
are they're very, very fun memories. I would do very similar stuff. It's just the love I have for those games. I was actually just talking to my buddy Tim recently about how smart it would be for like the WWF would sort of to re-release those games, like to up. It's not unusual now for a game to get like the HD treatment and get kind of revamped and brought up, but still be the core of that game, and it'd be good. And I think that would sell so well if they would do that to like probably do it No Mercy would make the most sense, but
Yeah. Everybody loves No Mercy. I think the thing I hate about No Mercy was I like the story mode, but I always hated like for certain things it'd be like, okay, now you got to go win this triple threat match.
Yeah.
And the guys were always just, I felt like at a certain point got so overpowered, and they got so much more with
very
the
annoying.
attitude meter Like
Yeah.
they hit that special way faster than I could ever imagine. But
Yeah.
I remember when they hit the special, you could only use like the little moves where you tapped A and B. So I'd be like little moves, not big grabs, little moves, little moves.
Yeah, the controls on those games were for me innovative.
Yeah,
Like
they
how
were-
like you could do so many different types of moves that it felt great to actually do the input on those without being super complicated, but still being pretty dang deep. I'm going to go on a quick rant here, a wrestling related rant. I love Randy Orton. Randy Orton is awesome. Nothing against Randy Orton, but it just deep dives into the corners of my soul how people forget that DDP was doing the diamond cutter out of nowhere well before Randy Orton was doing that with the RKO. Like, give DDP his flowers. It drives me bonkers. I still remember half those diamond cutters as a kid. He did one like out of a power bomb once, and I remember my brain being exploding as a kid how freaking cool that looked. So, give DDP his flowers. All right, I'm standing on that hill.
Well-
I love Randy Orton. His RKO is awesome. He definitely took it to another level. I'm not ever going to deny that. But DDP laid down that groundwork.
Maybe
Let's not
not.
forget that.
Maybe now Vince is gone.
Oh yeah.
I've
Yeah,
noticed.
Vince was a big fan bringing the WCW guys in. He didn't ruin them at all.
No, because Ventura came back finally backstage.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I still love Brian Last when he was like, because I was like, oh, everybody's coming back when they're like the biggest thing that they could do
Yes.
to just piss off Vince and everybody else is bring back Dr. D, David Schultz.
I always feel like they should release like an action figure of him and have like a reporter and have like how like and there's a WCW figure of Kevin Nash and he came with like just a random. It was supposed to be like look like Rey Mysterio, but like a little random figure that he could toss around. And then you have like a reporter and he could just smack
That's what Brian Last said. He said,
oh yeah.
or no, Cornette said it. And then Last was like, well, you don't want to pay John Stossel any more royalties. So you just got to put him as a news commentator.
Yeah. Yep.
Kind of like
That'd be perfect.
just news commentator with Dr. D, David Schultz.
Schultz will always keep kayfabe. That's why he was great.
And
And he got blackballed even though he was doing what he was told to do. So
and he's a legit crazy man.
yes, he
He
is.
was,
Yes. I would not mess with him, that's for sure.
I want to do
Even
that.
today. Yeah.
Do an
but that's-
episode on good old Dr. D.
I,
After
we should do it on that. We should do it on that incident in the first place because that's an interesting, fascinating.
Yeah. You know what? Let's do it
Time.
after we do, because next week we're going to do our top 5 hated video games of all time.
That's right. So stay tuned for this show. Next time on this show, we're going to flip the script and go for our top 5 most hated sports video games. That's going to be a lot of fun. We appreciate y'all joining us here. Make sure you join the social medias where Andrew does a fantastic job of keeping up with those. And let us know, hey, what's some of your favorite sports video games?
And with that being said, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.